What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Rodimus, and I'm back with another video. I know it's been a couple weeks since you heard from me, and just so y'all know, I've been busy. Nothing serious, nothing serious. Just so I'm putting that out there right now. But I've just been busy outside of the YouTube world, doing my regular stuff, working and stuff like that. But like I said, nothing serious. But I decided to drop a video because it's been a while. And on this video, I'm going to talk about the New York Knicks. Yes, the New York Knicks, as of this recording, June 1st, 2026, are going to the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999. Now, it's been a very, very, very long time since they've won the NBA championship. They won their first championship in 73. In 1970. They last won their second championship in 1973. So 1970 and 73 to be exact. But nonetheless, the New York Knicks are in the finals and they are the talk of the NBA world right now. So I'm going to talk about their second round matchup against the Philadelphia 76ers, and I am going to drop a long awaited video on the Sixers. So stay tuned for that. I know I've been saying that, but I am going to drop that long awaited video on the Philadelphia 76ers. And they swept the Cleveland Cavaliers. And it was noted that they are going to bring back their head coach for a third season. But nonetheless, the New York Knicks are on an 11-game winning streak. They are on an 11-game winning streak. And like I said, they are the talk of the NBA world. So there are going to be a lot of people jumping on the New York Knicks bandwagon. The NBA Finals kicks off Wednesday. And I will talk about who they'll play in the end. So stay tuned for that. But let's talk about the New York Knicks, shall we? Let's talk about Mike Brown as the head coach, Jalen Brunson leading the way, Cat doing his thing, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, so on and so forth. That whole crew just doing magic, if you will. And if the New York Knicks win the NBA championship, if they win the championship, you thought the state of New York, you thought New York City was going crazy when they won the conference, when they won the Eastern Conference. Just imagine what the state of New York is going to be like if the New York Knicks win the NBA championship for the first time in 53 years. That's a very long time. But nonetheless, let's talk about it. Oh, and also, I'm going to entertainment aspects on this video here. So I'll definitely give a little history lesson, if you will. But we'll start off with the second round of the playoffs. The New York Knicks played the Philadelphia 76ers, swept them 4-0. They moved on to the Eastern Conference Finals. And let's talk about the point differential. Let's talk about the point differential, because they outscored the Philadelphia 76ers by a large margin. You understand? By a large margin. The New York Knicks had outscored the 76ers by plus 89. That's a lot. Plus 89 during this series, and it is the third most lopsided non-first round series in NBA history. Let me repeat that. It is the third most lopsided non-first round series in NBA history. Basically what this was is that Philadelphia was no match for New York. Okay? New York, they were just too much. There was no way they could contain Jalen Brunson. Karl Anthony Towns was doing his thing. Joel Embiid and crew, they did the best they could. Not to take away, not saying that they didn't try, but like I said, they just weren't enough. They weren't enough for the New York Knicks, and the New York Knicks found ways to outplay the Philadelphia 76ers. And let's talk about breaking records, shall we? Let's talk about record breaking. With this win in Game 1, the New York Knicks became the first team in NBA history to win 3 consecutive playoff games by 25 plus points. Now, again, Philadelphia, I thought this was going to be a competitive series, but the way Mike Brown had his team playing, the way they were executing plays, X's and O's and all that, you see why the New York Knicks are on an 11-game winning streak. You see why in Game 1 they dominated the way they did. You see why in Game 4, especially Game 4, you see why they dominated the way they did. The New York Knicks were practically the better team here. Okay, Boston is out of the way. Atlanta, I mean, come on. Atlanta, what are we talking about here? Toronto, no. The New York Knicks were the team that carried the Eastern Conference. They are the team that is carrying the Eastern Conference on their back when it comes to the NBA Finals. And it showed here. It definitely showed in this series. They also tied the NBA playoff record by knocking down 25 three-pointers in a single game in Game 4. 25 straight three-pointers. Well, not necessarily straight, but nonetheless, they were dropping bombs. They were dropping bombs in Philadelphia. And the way that crowd, the New York Knicks crowd, showed up, I mean, that whole franchise, the whole city, the whole state of New York took over Philly. And, I mean, what else could Philly do at this point? What else could they do? Nothing. So, therefore, the New York Knicks moved on the way they did, and therefore, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals against Cleveland. Now, let's talk about the Eastern Conference Finals. They played James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, and crew. And here's my thing with Cleveland. Let me just say this. Ken Atkinson, their head coach, kept talking about analytics. Game 1, they basically gave it away. They were up by 22. He wanted to hold his timeouts for what I have no earthly idea. That's what cost them in Game 1. That moment right there in Game 1 cost them the whole entire series. That's what cost them the series. Holding those timeouts. You call one timeout in the fourth quarter? What are you doing here? Literally, what are you doing? This is the Eastern Conference Finals. This is a chance to go to the NBA Finals, to win it all possibly. And you hold your timeouts and you want to talk about analytics? Come on, man. Anyway, the Eastern Conference Finals saw them against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And just like the 76ers, it was a sweep, okay? We all saw that. It marked their 11th straight win, and this made them, being the New York Knicks, the 4th team to ever do so. And ever since they went down 2-1 against the Hawks in the first round, the New York Knicks were not playing games. They have not been playing games. And they are going to be fresh, ready to go come the NBA Finals. And it's going to show whether this is their year or the team that they're going to play is just a better team. So we'll see. It's going to be a great series either way. So I'm really looking forward to it. Now, let's talk about average or margin average, however you want to put it. All but one New York Knicks victory during this run has been by double digits, winning by an average of 23.7 points, nearly 24 points. They have been blowing teams out. They have been blowing their opponents out during this run by nearly 24 points. And how can you stop the New York Knicks? How can you stop them? I mean, Cleveland couldn't do it. James Harden choked, right? Donovan Mitchell couldn't do it. Joel Embiid couldn't do it. Tyrese Maxey couldn't do it. The Hawks couldn't do it. The New York Knicks just find ways to click on all cylinders, and that's why they've won 11 straight. Just the way they're playing on defense, working together on offense, and it's definitely showed. You've beaten your opponents by an average of nearly 24 points. How can you stop that? And let's talk about rebounding. Let's talk about getting on the glass, because once you get those rebounds, that's one of the key things to winning a basketball game. Getting rebounds and out-rebounding your opponent, right? In Game 4, the New York Knicks out-rebounded the Cleveland Cavaliers 60-33 in dominating fashion. This includes a staggering 20-6 advantage on offense. Wow. 20-6 on offense, and you outscore them 60-33. Clearly, Karl Anthony Towns and the rest of that crew, they were just too much on the glass. And pretty much Cleveland didn't want this series bad enough. They didn't want those rebounds bad enough. They didn't shoot those threes well enough. And the New York Knicks, to their advantage, are in the NBA Finals. And, for Cleveland, man, You know, the way they got embarrassed this whole series is just like Philly. Those two teams I mean, they just got embarrassed. It was just straight up embarrassment. That's basically what it was. Straight up embarrassment. Now, like I said, I wanted to talk some entertainment in this video, right? Because let's not forget the New York Knicks were also in the NBA Finals in 1994 when they lost to the Houston Rockets, okay? Now, I don't have any stats as far as when they were in the finals in 94, but I do have some stats from when they won their championship last in 73 to their last appearance in 1999. And let me say this. You know, when you talk about blue collar franchise, and I was thinking about this the other day. When you talk about blue collar franchises, you know, you think about teams like the Spurs. You think about teams like the Golden State Warriors, the Lakers, the Celtics, who have the most championships out of everybody. In this quarter century, you don't think about the New York Knicks. Like I said, the New York Knicks, this could be arguably, if not the best team that the New York Knicks have ever had, period. So, you know, just to give some entertainment aspects of what I'm talking about and what this means for the New York Knicks franchise, let's talk about 1973. When they won their NBA championship when they last won the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Okay, the cost of living today and things the way they are today are like quadruple what they were in 73 and 79, okay? So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the cost of living. The last time the Knicks won the NBA championship. Now, I know y'all going to be listening to this and watching this and be like, what the hell is he talking about? I just want to give an aspect of how things were compared to now. I want to give a scenario, if you will. I want to give my analysis on how things were in 73 in 1999 versus what things are today. Because things today, oh boy, we'll be here all day. But nonetheless, let's talk about it. The cost of living in 1973, the last time the New York Knicks won the NBA championship, inflation. Inflation is drastic in today's age. But in 73, inflation was 8.8%. That was the highest since 1947 during that time. The median family income, $12,050 per year. $12,050 per year, according to census.gov. The dollar value. Now, in today's age, the dollar really don't mean much. It's really not much today. But $1 possessed the same purchasing power as roughly as $7.50 today. That's how much it possesses today. And that's how much it possessed back then. The average cost of a new house. The average cost of a new home was $32,500. Monthly rent, $133 nationally, though close to $190 to $200 for standard city apartments. Now, compared to what rent is today, rent in today's day and age with inflation and everything going up and gas, which I'll get to in a minute, is basically like a whole arm and a leg here. That's basically what it is. Things back then, you can say were a lot simpler compared to now, because you can say back then, people had it easy back then. I mean, I just read that rent was $133 a month nationally. Imagine if rent was $133 today. Imagine that. College tuition, $438 per year, compared to how much it is like 20 times that now. I know I'm exaggerating, but I'm just saying. The price of gas. Now, the price of gas is damn near, what, $4, almost $5 a gallon in today's age, in 2026. The average price of gas was 39 cents per gallon. But I should note that by October 73, the Arab oil embargo hit, causing prices to quadruple and sparking massive lines at the gas stations. So just imagine, like I said, if gas was 39 cents a gallon. In today's age, you couldn't keep people off the streets. You couldn't keep people off the roads if gas was 39 cents a gallon. That is insane compared to what it is now. What? Damn near $4 a gallon, almost $5. So that's a huge jump within the last 53 years. Okay. Movie tickets, around $1.50 to $2 per ticket, depending on movie and showtime. A month ago, I went to go see Michael, the movie about Michael Jackson. Movie tickets, $2 per ticket. Hell, I paid 3 times that when I went to go see Michael. I paid $6 a ticket. So just imagine if movie tickets were $2. You know how much you could get with just $20? You just paying $2 per ticket? I mean, geez. I paid $6 a ticket, like $13.50 for a drink and some candy. So yeah, times have definitely changed. For some bacon, the average price per pound for a pound of bacon, $1.19 a pound for some bacon. Eggs, 77 cents a dozen. Milk, $1.32 per gallon. $1.32 for a gallon of milk. I don't even know how much it is now, but it's definitely high. For a car, listen to this. A budget-friendly Plymouth Duster would cost about $2,275, while a standard Volvo was $4,050. You can't even get that in today's age. Again, with the way things are, it would cost you a whole arm and a leg. That type of money, I mean, yeah, it can buy you a used car, but just a brand new car? Nah, it would be like 4 times, maybe 5 times that. The cost of living. Let's talk about how things were in 1999. That was just in 73. Let's talk about how things were in 1999. Because that was the last time the New York Knicks went to the NBA Finals. They played the Spurs. And the New York Knicks, you know, they had a pretty decent team back then. The Spurs were on the come up. You know, they had a young Tim Duncan, a very good player in David Robinson. Coach Pop, I think that was his first year as head coach, and they won the title, their very first title in 1999. So let's talk about the year 1999, where we were heading into the millennium, if you will, and things definitely changed within the 26 years that it was. So the cost of living in 1999 for a median household would be $40,816 a year. Huge jump between them. The dollar value. $1 in 1999 was the same purchasing power as $2. Again, the dollar doesn't mean squat these days, so it really can't get you much. I mean, just having $100 isn't much because it don't take long to break that $100. So it's a real decline, a real big decline from what it was in 73 to 1999 as far as purchasing power. Inflation. Now, inflation was a calm 2.2%. So inflation was not as bad as it was in 73. And it definitely wasn't as bad as it is today. The cost for a new home, between $131,000 and $135,000 nationally. Monthly rent, around $600 to $650 per month, though a decent Manhattan or Brooklyn apartment quickly climbed past $1,100 plus as the city's tech boom took off. Now, this was in the age of cassettes, CDs, videotapes. The internet was growing, stuff like that. There was no social media back then, no Facebook, no Instagram. You know, we were coming into the invention of cell phones. I think beepers were still around back then. There was actually good TV back then. You know, when I was a child, you know, of course I watched my wrestling, my sports. I actually watched good cartoons compared to what cartoons are today. I don't even know what the hottest cartoon is. That just goes to show you how things have changed between 99 and in 2026. Anyway, the price of gas, 97 cents per gallon. Let me repeat that. 97 cents per gallon. The price of gas. And that would be the last time America would see gas under $1. Again, gas in 2026 is like damn near $4 a gallon, damn near $5. So just imagine if gas in 2026 was between 39 and 97 cents a gallon. Do you know how many people would be on the roads right now? Imagine if people could actually afford a car. Again, do you know how many people would be on the roads right now? That's saying a lot. Movie tickets, $5 per ticket. Eggs, $1.05 a dozen. Bread, a loaf of bread, for white bread, a loaf of bread, 87 cents. 87 cents a loaf. Compared to, say, what it is, what, probably $2 or $3, if that, just for a loaf of bread. I mean, people were actually able to afford things back then, as I'm reading these numbers here. So it's mighty crazy. Anyway, just for a car. And oh, by the way, in 73, let me flip back to my notes here. In 73, Richard Nixon was in office. Richard Nixon was in office. He had just won his second term. He had just got reelected president. Okay. And this was during the time of Watergate, the infamous Watergate scandal. And so things were a lot different compared to when Nixon was in office and Bill Clinton was in office. And I'm going to talk about that a little later. Anyway, for a car, let's talk about what a car would cost in 1999. A standard Ford Taurus or a Honda Civic would range around $16,000 to $17,000. I mean, that's pretty good for a standard car, for a standard Honda, or for a Honda Civic, a Taurus. That's pretty decent. I'm sure it's like 3 times that. I could be wrong, but that to me, that's pretty decent. Now, as I mentioned, there are a lot of differences from what 73 was when the Knicks won the championship to 99 when they appeared in the finals. In 1973, there was no 3-point line, and gas was 39 cents a gallon. In 1999, dial-up internet was starting to rise. Yes, again, we were in the age of internet, CDs, cassette tapes, things of that nature. Gas was 97 cents a gallon. And the last time Madison Square Garden hosted a finals game was in 1999. So it's been a very long time since the city of New York has had an NBA finals game. Today, what do we have? Social media, streaming, right? Everybody pulling their phones out, cameras and stuff. We live in a world of digital age, AI, which I hate, a new era of basketball, and the Knicks finally breaking their curse. A lot of people didn't think that the New York Knicks would be here. Getting into the season, myself, yes, I can admit, I picked teams like the Boston Celtics, right? Not many people expected the New York Knicks to be here. It said it couldn't be done. Let me rephrase that. They said it couldn't be done, but we're here now. The New York Knicks are in the NBA Finals, and they're looking to make a statement. A lot of eyes are going to be on this series. I'm telling y'all that now. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to work most of the series, but I'm going to stay tuned in. I'm going to be keeping up with this series. And, hey, man, like I said earlier, the New York Knicks are the talk of the town. They did it. A lot of people said it couldn't be done. They overcame the odds. They broke the curse. They got the type of players that they needed to make this team the conversation, to put this team in the conversation as far as the championship is concerned. And here we are now. Now, as I mentioned, in 73, Richard Nixon was in his second term. Let me read you this. President Nixon was in his second term because he had just got reelected November of 72. But the New York Knicks had won the NBA championship in May of 73. However, the Watergate scandal blew up and dominated the news along with the NBA playoffs. So President Nixon during this time basically tried to take away the conversation of who was the best team in the NBA. Because at that time, it was between the Knicks and the Lakers. Now, let me say this. What President Nixon did was wrong 100%. And he knew it was wrong. That's why he stepped down as president of the United States. But nonetheless, this was definitely a attention-grabbing headline, as well as the NBA playoffs, and as well as the New York Knicks, because the New York Knicks were simply the best team that year. As far as movies, what movies and what songs came out during that time, right? Let's talk about it. The Exorcist. The Exorcist came out the day after Christmas in 73. Horror classic. You know, honestly, I've never watched this movie, but I've heard about it. This movie grossed over $441.3 million at the box office. The Sting, released on Christmas Day. Yes, released on Christmas Day. It grossed over $257 million at the box office. It won numerous awards at the 46th Annual Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Film Editing. American Graffiti, which was written and directed by George Lucas. Yes, the same George Lucas who's written and directed the world famous, the internationally famous Star Wars series that has made millions and millions and billions of dollars. This movie was released on August 11th in the United States and grossed over $140 million. And then some of the songs that were released in 73. It's a Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Oak Tree by Dawn featuring Tony Orlando. This song here became number one mostly throughout the year, and this came out around the time of the NBA playoffs. Another song that came out during this time, You Are the Sunshine of My Life by Stevie Wonder. It became number one in mid-May of that year as the finals were wrapping up. Frankenstein by the Edgar Winter Group, a massive hard-rocking instrumental track that captured the classic high-energy sound of the 70s. And My Love by Paul McCartney and Wings. It hit number one and started at the start of June, keeping the classic momentum rolling. In 1999, let's talk politics in 99. Bill Clinton. We were in the Bill Clinton era, right? Bill Clinton had just won his second term. The country was experiencing massive budget surpluses and a tech-fueled economic boom. So things were rolling in 1999. Believe it or not, things were rolling in 1999 with Clinton in his second term. Some movies that came out in 99, Austin Powers, The Spy That Shagged Me. Yes, that was a big hit back then. That was one of the biggest movies during that time in the late 90s going into the 2000s. A phenomenal movie starring Mike Myers hit number one right as the NBA Finals started. This had everyone doing the Dr. Evil impersonations as the movie grossed over $312 million at the box office. Another movie that came out, Star Wars. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, released 2 weeks prior in late May. This became a cultural juggernaut as this movie grossed over nearly 1.1 billion, not million, billion. This movie grossed over 1.1 billion at the box office. Huge franchise, one of the greatest franchises ever. Now, I saw the very first Star Wars ever. Let me tell y'all now, I'm not a big Star Wars fan. However, I did see the very first Star Wars that was ever made. My buddies had to sit me down to make me watch this, and I liked it. But other than that, I'm not going to watch Star Wars. But this right here proves how big Star Wars was and is today. The Matrix. Who can't forget The Matrix, right? The Matrix that had Lawrence Fishburne, Keanu Reeves, Wesley Snipes. I almost forgot him. Wesley Snipes had a big all-star cast. This movie was released on March 31st in the U.S. and April 8th in Australia. Again, big classic movie. Everybody was doing the little Matrix thing. You know, people still doing that today. This movie grossed over $467.8 million overall at the box office. So instant hit. I mean, like I said, when you think of the Matrix, you know, everybody's trying to do the little Matrix thing. Like I said, Lawrence Fishburne, Wesley Snipes, Keanu Reeves. One of the all-time great movies in history. Okay? So I've definitely seen that movie. And I would actually watch it again. I don't know about y'all, but I would definitely watch it again. Some songs that came out in 1999. Let's talk about it. If You Had My Love by Jennifer Lopez. This song right here, I still hear it today. Hell, I just heard it the other day at work. This was a #1 hit in June, and it definitely started success as far as her music career is concerned, making her the iconic global star that she is, better known as J-Lo. Livin' La Vida Loca by Ricky Martin. Who can't forget that song? Now, this hit #1 before the J-Lo takeover, but it definitely sparked the Latin pop takeover that was in the late 90s. And that song right there, those are one of the songs back then that you could not go nowhere without hearing. I mean, you might hear it today, but that was one of the songs you couldn't go nowhere without hearing. Livin' La Vida Loca by Ricky Martin. I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys. Now, who hasn't heard this song? I mean, come on now. I still hear this song today. This is one of the few songs that I still hear at work. You know, when they play the songs on the radio, you hear this at proms, weddings, and stuff like that. This was definitely a chart topper. One of the best songs that the Backstreet Boys have ever made. And No Scrubs by TLC. Who can't forget that song? An R&B powerhouse that became an anthem throughout the spring and all of 1999. Those are some of the big songs in 1999. And I tell y'all what, man. 1999 was a lot different from what it was in 73, and it's definitely a lot different from what it is today. I'll say that much. But as far as the New York Knicks are concerned, man, like I said, it's going to be a lot of eyes watching this. It's going to be a lot of eyes watching this series. And who are they playing in the NBA Finals? The San Antonio Spurs. Yes, the rematch from 27 years later. The San Antonio Spurs led by De'Aaron Fox, Wemby. I mean, what more can I say about that? What more can I say about that team? What more can I say about Victor Wembanyama? This is going to be a phenomenal series. And I'm going to do a video talking about this. And I'm going to do a video and I'm going to drop it on Wednesday. Game 1 is Wednesday. I'm going to drop it the day of the NBA Finals. So be on the lookout for that. But man, I tell you what, congratulations to the Knicks, man. A lot of people, like I said, are going to be jumping on the bandwagon. And when you look at how things were in 73, 99, even 1994, when the New York Knicks went to the NBA Finals against the Houston Rockets, things were a lot different compared to how they are now. That's the thing about that. Not only the Knicks going to the finals, but how times have changed in the 53 years since they last won their NBA title. But I tell y'all what, man. Y'all let me know in the comments, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think, who y'all think gonna win. I'll give my prediction on who I think will win the series on Wednesday when I drop the video and stuff like that. So again, y'all be on the lookout for that. But with all that being said, This has been my point of view of the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks in the NBA Finals for the first time in 27 years. Hey, man, it's going to be a series for the ages. But y'all let me know what y'all think, who y'all think going to win, what y'all think going to happen, and all that good stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and close on out, man. But all that being said, this has been my point of view. My name is Rodimus, and I will see you guys next time.